Are Jane and Anne overweight? No, Jane and Anne aren't overweight. Are they slim? Yes, they're slim. Are they slim or overweight? They're slim. 2 years ago, were they slim? No, they was slim 2 years ago. 2 years ago, were they slim or overweight? 2 years ago, they were overweight. Are they still overweight now? No, they aren't. Now they are no longer overweight. Did they used to be overweight? Yes, that's correct. They used to be overweight. When were they overweight? 2 years ago, they were overweight. 2 years ago, were Jane and Anne both overweight? Yes, that's correct. 2 years ago, Jane and Anne were both overweight. Were they equally overweight? No, they wasn't equally overweight. One of them was more overweight than the other. Was Anne more overweight than Jane? No, Anne wasn't more overweight than Jane. Who was more overweight than the other? Jane was more overweight than Anne. Was Jane a little overweight or very overweight? Well, Jane was very overweight. What about Anne? Was Anne a little overweight or very overweight? Anne was a little overweight. Tell me again, who was more overweight than the other? Jane was more overweight than Anne. Was Jane overweight? No, Jane is no. Is Jane still overweight? No, Jane is no longer overweight. Is Anne still overweight? No, Anne is no longer overweight. Did Jane and Anne used to be overweight? Yes, Jane and Anne used to be overweight. When were they overweight? They were overweight 2 years ago. How overweight were they? Well, Jane was very overweight and Anne was a little overweight. Now I'm going to know questions about Kate and her brother Tom. When Kate and Tom were little, did they think the Superman was real? No, they didn't think the Superman was real when they were little. When they were little, who did they think was real? When they were little, they thought the Santa Claus was real. Did they think the zombies was real? No, they didn't think the zombies was real. Who did they think was real? They thought the Santa Claus was real. When Tom was a boy, did he have a friend named Nick? Yes, that's correct. When Tom was a boy, he had a friend named Nick. What did Nick tell him one day? One day, Nick told him that the Santa Claus wasn't real. Did Nick tell him that the Superman wasn't real? No, Nick didn't tell him that the Superman wasn't real. Did Nick tell him the ghost wasn't real? No, Nick didn't tell him that the ghost wasn't real. What did Nick tell him? Nick told him that the Santa Claus wasn't real. When Tom realized the Santa Claus wasn't real, did he feel angry? No, that's not how he felt. When Tom realized the Santa Claus wasn't real, he didn't feel angry. Did he feel embarrassed? No, he didn't feel embarrassed. How did he feel? He felt surprised and sad at the same time. Who was surprised and sad? It was Tom. Tom was surprised and sad. When Tom got home that day, what did he do? When Tom got home that day, he told Kate that the Santa Claus didn't actually exist. Did he tell Kate that their parents were sick? No, he didn't tell Kate that their parents were sick. Did he tell Kate that the ghost didn't actually exist? No, he didn't tell Kate that the ghost didn't actually exist. What did he tell Kate? He told Kate that the Santa Claus didn't actually exist. When Kate realized the Santa Claus didn't exist, did she laugh? No, Kate didn't laugh when she realized the Santa Claus didn't exist. What happened when she realized the Santa Claus didn't exist? When she realized the Santa Claus didn't exist, she cried almost an hour. Did she cry for just minutes? Did she cry for just a few minutes? No, she didn't cry for just a few minutes. How long did she cry? She cried for almost an hour. Was it Tom who cried almost an hour? No, it wasn't Tom who cried for almost an hour. Who cried for almost an hour? It's Kate. Kate cried for almost an hour. Now I'm going to questions about two-seater Grace and Emma. Do Grace and Emma have a pet? Yes, Grace and Emma have a pet. Are their pets dogs? No, their pets aren't dogs. Are their pets cats? No, their pets aren't cats. What kind of animal are their pets? Their pets are spiders. How many spiders do they have? They have 3 spiders. Do they think they're spiders? Do they think the spiders? Do they think they're spiders are scary? No, they don't think their spiders are scary. What do they think about their spiders? Well, they think their spiders are cute. When Grace and Emma were young, were they afraid of birds? No, they aren't afraid of birds. Were they afraid of dogs? No, they weren't afraid of dogs. What did they scary? What were they afraid of? They're afraid of spiders. When they were young, did they think the spiders were cute? No, they didn't think the spiders were cute when they were young. When Grace and Emma were young, were they afraid of birds? No, they wasn't afraid of birds. Were they afraid of dogs? No, they wasn't afraid of dogs. What were they afraid of? They were afraid of spiders. Did they think the spiders were interesting? No, they didn't think the spiders were interesting. What didn't they think about the spiders? They thought the spiders was scary. Who thought the spiders was scary? Grace and Emma thought the spiders were scary. One day, did Grace and Emma watch the cartoon? Yes, they did. One day, Grace and Emma watched the cartoon. Was the cartoon about dogs? No, the cartoon wasn't about dogs. Was the cartoon about cats? No, the cartoon wasn't about cats either. What was the cartoon about? The cartoon about the spiders. Were there spiders in the cartoon? Yes, there were spiders in the cartoon. While watching the cartoon, did they feel bored? No, they didn't feel bored while watching the cartoon. Was the cartoon boring? No, the cartoon wasn't boring. Was the cartoon funny? Yes, the cartoon was funny. Was spiders in the cartoon scary? No, the spiders in the cartoon wasn't scary. Was the spiders in the cartoon cute? Yes, the spiders in the cartoon was cute. Before they watched the cartoon, were they afraid of spiders? Yes, that's correct. Before they watched the cartoon, they were afraid of spiders. What happened after they watched the cartoon? After they watched the cartoon, their fear about spiders was completely gone. After they watched the cartoon, were they afraid of spiders? No, they aren't. After they watched the cartoon, they were no longer afraid of spiders. No, they wasn't. After they watched the cartoon, they were no longer afraid of spiders. Is there fear of spiders? Is there fears about spiders? Completely gone? Yes, that's correct. Their fear about their spiders is completely gone. Was their fear of spiders completely gone? Yes, that's correct. Their fear of spiders was completely gone.